Hello, my name is Ellie, and welcome to my channel if you're new. If you're not, then welcome back. If you don't know me, I basically make Yuri content on the internet, and today I'm going to be talking about a pretty controversial manga in the Yuri community, if not the most controversial manga in the Yuri community, and that is Citrus. So, if you don't know, Citrus gets quite a lot of backlash, which some of it is pretty understandable, but a lot of it I would like to talk about because personally I am a fan of Citrus. I do understand some of the controversy surrounding Citrus, but I find most of it to be pretty stupid, to be honest. So yeah, this is just me talking about Citrus and why I think it's not as bad as most people think. So the basis for a lot of what I'm going to be saying is this is a work of fiction. So a lot of things in Citrus people miss and then misinterpret, which is why I want to clear some things up about Citrus and its story. First thing that a lot of people point out is that they're stepsisters. For me personally, it's not like I'm gonna be like, incest is okay or whatever in media, right? I think I want to start off with them obviously not being blood related. A lot of people find that unacceptable, blood related or not. What I have to say about that is that Mei and Yuzu never grew up with each other, so psychologically they don't have a sisterly relationship. They're practically strangers when they become stepsisters, so they haven't really established that sort of psychological bond with each other. Because they never grew up with each other, for me personally, that makes it more acceptable. And for me, it makes it feel less unacceptable that they're having a romantic relationship. One comment that I've seen is that, but they call each other sister, they call each other sis. This is the part where you really have to analyze the plot. Them calling each other sister is on purpose. It starts off as them calling each other sisters because they try to hide their feelings under a sisterly love. Because at first, they don't want to admit that they love each other in a romantic way, and they want for their parents to be able to have a happy family, so they try to have a sisterly relationship. So for the sake of their parents, they try to have a sisterly relationship, and they try to become sisters. Psychologically, of course. And at this point, if you still think that them being sisters is problematic, I would like to remind everyone that this is a work of fiction. And in my opinion, I think that fiction does affect real life, but it just depends on the circumstance, and it depends on who's consuming the media. Let me give an example. If a 5-year-old were to read Citrus, their perception of reality would be quite skewed. There's a very high possibility that the 5-year-old will probably start thinking that romantic relationships between siblings is okay. If a 20-year-old person were to read Citrus, then they would be able to distinguish the fact that Citrus is a piece of fiction. The 20-year-old would be able to distinguish that things that happen in Citrus would be socially unacceptable in reality. I want to point out that Citrus was meant to be taboo and was meant to be very melodramatic. A lot of people say Citrus romanticizes sexual assault. As a victim of sexual assault, personally, I don't think it romanticizes sexual assault at all. My number one reason that it doesn't romanticize it is that Mei has a backstory that makes sense for her to sexually assault someone. She doesn't randomly sexual assault Yuzu. Her character is very traumatized and is very flawed. She does not know how to react to her trauma. She does not know how to process her trauma, which I believe is why she starts to sexually assault Yuzu. Now, this is only to say that it's not romanticizing sexual assault. I want to make that very clear. And when people hear me say this, they think I'm justifying Mei's reason for sexually assaulting her, and that's not the case at all. What I'm saying is that to romanticize sexual assault is to make the character sexual assault someone to seduce them. That's what I interpret as romanticizing sexual assault. Because if a character falls in love with another character and it's because they were sexually assaulted by them, that's very obviously romanticizing sexual assault. One, Yuzu doesn't fall for Mei because she sexually assaults her. And number two, Mei doesn't sexually assault Yuzu in order to seduce her. Mei sexually assaults Yuzu because she's traumatized and she can't process it. And if you wonder why Yuzu falls for Mei, it's because Yuzu finds out the reasons for Mei sexually assaulting her. With that information, she tries to help Mei cope with her trauma. And as she does that, she realizes the real Mei isn't the Mei that sexually assaulted her. The real true Mei is an actual kind and caring person, and that's the Mei that Yuzu falls for. Another thing that people say is that Citrus is bad representation for the woman-loving woman community. Personally, when I read Citrus, I didn't feel represented in a good way or a bad way. I think something being good representation is really up to the person that reads it. I think a world where all media accurately represents who or what they're trying to represent would be a very boring world. But I do understand where people are coming from when they say Citrus is bad representation, because a lot of people interpret Citrus where it is bad representation for women-loving women. I think most people interpret Citrus the wrong way when they first read it, which is why it's bad representation. It's only bad representation because people interpret it wrong in the first place. If people actually interpreted it in a different way, I think that it would be way more acceptable as representation for the women-loving woman community. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Citrus. This video was kind of just to vent my frustration about people that shit on Citrus, because a lot of people just read it at a very surface level way. A lot of people have a surface level way of thinking in a way that, you know, they don't analyze certain characters, certain actions. For example, people don't analyze Mei's actions and why she does it. They just say she's sexually assaulting someone, sexual assault is bad, and then Citrus is bad. But then they don't realize that there's a reason for Mei to be flawed in the beginning. Mei sexually assaulting Yuzu is the author's way of showing that Mei is traumatized and Mei needs help. And I also think a lot of people think in a very black and white way, where a lot of people think, even though this is a piece of fiction, it's going to affect reality. Where, of course, I argued that it depends on who consumes the piece of fiction. And yeah, that's my interpretation of Citrus. I can talk a lot more about Citrus and why I actually think it's good versus just not bad. That's all I have to say. Please show this video to someone who says that Citrus isn't good for the reasons that I've listed. Or if you also like Citrus like me, and if you agree, that's cool, because I don't find a lot of people that actually support Citrus or interpret it the same way as I do. So yeah, thanks for watching my video. Peace.